Hey everyone, it's Shama. I'm the program director here at Girls and Geese. We're back for yet another edition of our Ask a Black Belt segment. How this works is you tune in, you ask questions, and our guest will answer them. Today we have on a very special guest. Her name is Alexa Yanes. She's a black belt on the Rodrigo Pinheiro team out in San Antonio. She's been training since she was 8 years old. She's a multiple-time IBJJF medalist. She's also a no-gi world medalist, world champion, and so we are super excited to have her on to answer your questions. So thank you for joining us. We should have her on here in just a moment, and as soon as we do, just go ahead, start asking your questions in the comments, and we will have her answer. Hey Alexa, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you travel a lot, competing all over the world, teaching. So we really appreciate you taking the chance to be a part of this segment.
For sure, I'm here, so whatever works, I'm here for it. Awesome.
Very cool. So you started training jiu-jitsu at 8. What got you into the sport?
It was just nearby, close to the house, and it was just convenient. Like, it wasn't like a big thing then. So it was just like, okay, like I could do this. And then like, it was actually like right up my alley because I've always been like, I've always thought like in like school, like, athletics and stuff, like I've always like thought I am athletic, but like, there was always like, I don't like team sports. I don't like a group where I don't want to rely on other people. So I've always, like I say, like I always wanted to be athletic. Like I knew I had the capability, but I never had a sport that I was able to just like engage myself and I really enjoy. So like I said, the jiu-jitsu was just close to the house and it just kind of was there. And I just started doing it. And it was actually the sport that appealed to me the most, like I say, because the fact that it's me as an individual, of course we have a team and you have everyone around you, but when the time comes and it's only you, I really enjoyed the individual aspect and then all the other, just everything about it, that I was able to exemplify my athleticism that in other sports I don't feel like I could as much. So it was just a great opportunity that was the thing. That was what was appealing to me at the time.
Awesome. So had you done any martial arts before, or was this was the first martial art that you jumped
That was
into?
the first martial arts. I mean, I always like growing up was like, like rowdy with like my siblings and cousins and stuff, like just normal stuff like that. And I mean, we always had fun doing that, but I never even, I guess being that young, you don't really think like, oh, I can do this as a hobby or I can do this as a lifestyle. Like, that's my thing to be, just like play fight or be, like I say, rowdy. So it was just
Yeah.
like, it was like just convenient. Like when I did find it, it was like, wow, like it is something that like I can have fun doing. And it is a sport where it's like there's an objective and there's rules and there's a system to win. And I did gymnastics minimally when I was like way younger, so I always like was like I always have this thing like, oh, like I'm flexible or I'm this, and then in a group of guys, like I was like the superstar because like I was like, oh, like, being so young too, you're just like, okay, like now, I mean, now you see it so much, all the kids, of course, but in that time it's like, oh, this is like, like this is right up my alley. So it was all the little things that just kind of put together in the right moment, and then I was able to take advantage of that moment and just grow with it.
Awesome. So was it love at first sight? Was it like, oh wow, I really like want to keep doing this and I don't care about any other sports? Or was
pretty
it
pretty much. It's funny though, because I always say too, when I first started, and like even when I got a little older too, and in the teens and stuff, and then like in my mind, like you're so young, you're so oblivious, but so in my mind, I'm training, doing all the stuff in the class, and I'm doing good, and there's all these guys, of course, like the big guys, like obviously older, bigger guys, and of course they're letting me win, of course they're letting me beat them up, but in my mind I'm like, yeah, I killed these guys, like I'm doing so good. And then like I just convinced myself and they just, of course I'm being so small for so long, of course they're just gonna let me win. And then I just rode with that, and then by the time later, like I realized like, oh, like okay, I am kind of weak, or I do kind of not have a lot of technique. It was too late. I already invested so much time. So then I
oh
actually had to just like stick with it, because I was like, well, I'm here. I'm already been doing it this long. Like, I have to stay now. But it was funny because at the beginning, you gain so much self-confidence. Like, yeah, like I do good. I am winning. And then of course you find out later you're not as good as you think. So So I'll take it. It worked out. It got me, kept me there.
Hey.
So I'll take it.
No, but they helped build your
Yeah.
confidence,
And
like
that's the value of nice training partners. They know
yes.
obviously why you're there. They know obviously why are they gonna why like for me, any guy 30 years old, 40 years old, like why are you gonna try to kill this like 14, 15, like why? And it's like, okay, do whatever. Of course, they let me work, do little stuff here and there, nothing crazy. But I mean, like, just enough for me to gain the confidence so I know, okay, I have the capability. So by the time it comes later, I do have the mental capacity. Like, I'm not afraid to go with this guy. I'm not afraid to be in the situation. I've already, because that's a barrier itself for girls. I think sometimes it's, oh, I don't want to go. Like, when you're adult and more aware, like, I don't want to go with this guy. Like, even if he's a nice
Mm-hmm.
guy, you don't know. But like, it's just like a block. Like, oh, that's weird. Like, who's this guy? I don't want to go with him. So I mean, as younger, you don't really have. I mean, sometimes you do, of course, but me, I didn't. I was like, yeah, let's go. I'll beat you up too. but but it just kind of helped me grow along the way. And then I always had a good connotation. There was, like I said, there was no one crazy, so I just grew with a good connotation. So I'll take it.
No, and I think I think you hit on something very important, and I love seeing your generation now who came up as kids and now entering, you're in the women's divisions, and there's a whole generation, and you guys are the first American generation of kids, that have
Yeah.
been able to do this. And so it's awesome to see, but I love getting your guys' perspective because I know I see a lot of little girls, they get into it when they're younger, but once puberty kind of hits in those teenage years, you see a lot of them drop off. So I'm curious for you, what kind of kept you going through that? And because I know there's an odd phase too, where you get stuck in the adult class, right? You're
Hmm.
no longer, you're too
In
big for the kids.
between.
You're in between. So I would love to get your perspective on how that was for you during that time period.
I mean, I even see it now a lot too. We coach the kids class, and we have a lot of the kids that grow up, and then I kind of have to guide them, or I have to guide the girls into where are you guys gonna go now, or whatever the situation is. So the same way I've dealt with it before, now I can appease the generation within my own class structure. So I mean, it is hard, but it's just like I say, going with finding a purpose with each class. I know like, okay, the fundamentals, maybe they're all bigger, they're all adults, but there's someone smaller. Maybe it's the kids class and maybe you're the biggest. But even me now, like if I like, sometimes because maybe I myself right now, at most 130 pounds, I'm still the smallest person in the adult class, maybe, or in the competition class, I'm still the smallest one. And they're going to put me with the orange belt or green belt. I mean, for me, I make the most of the training. So even though it's a weird size gap sometimes, you have to make the most. If they're way bigger than you, being a kid in the adult class, I mean, you're there for a reason. If you need to slow down, that's maybe because kids are so crazy. Being that young, they're so fast. Maybe that's the time that you need to stop, slow down, be strategic. And then, me being older but still small, now same thing. Now I still have to be I have to be cautious of my weight. The same way we tell like the 200-pound guy, oh, be careful, don't use your weight. I, as
Mm-hmm.
130 pounds, need to have that same aspect, that same connotation. Oh, I can't use my weight. It's really all technique. So, I mean, there is you realize there's a time to use the weight. There's a time to use the technique. And that's what I tell my white belt girls sometimes. Sometimes, we get those juvenile girls, totally brand new white belt, and they're in that weird age of 16, and I put them with the kids that are 12, 13, yellow belt, orange belt, and then they don't know what to do. I mean, they're way bigger than this kid. They should technically beat this kid, but I just have them like, okay, like, just if you just move, if you just walk, if you just,
Mm-hmm.
that's the time you use your jiu-jitsu. Don't just let them, oh, because they're a kid, I'm gonna let them beat me up. But
Mm-hmm.
but take advantage. That's the time to use your jiu-jitsu, to use zero strength and really learn what your technique is. So, like I said, it's a matter of learning the technique and learning how to use your weight, because you do need to use both in the long run.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Have you ever in your journey, curious, ever hit the wall, I guess we'd say, where you're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore,
Oh, many
or
times.
maybe.
I literally, like, at every belt, like 2 or 3 times at every belt. That's happened. But I mean, it's all through phases. Sometimes, like, I do feel that way. I remind myself it's not always going to be this way. I'm not always going to feel like this. The same way I get so excited and so like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do all these things. The same way I feel like that is the same way I know I feel like, oh, when I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Or maybe I just change my goals. Maybe I'm not going to focus. And so I have to realize, okay, what's my goals? Even if it's down to like every month, every 2 months, maybe this month I'm going to be competing a lot. Maybe this month I'm going to slow down and just focus on teaching more. Maybe this month I'm gonna just work on more, just work on the physicality of everything that I need to do, and just work on technique. So I have to rearrange my goals sometimes. Maybe, like I said, maybe because if I burn out, it's because I'm so stuck on one thing. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do this. But it's not always just, I could always do jiu-jitsu, but it's not just one goal in jiu-jitsu. It's like I say, it's competing, winning, building technique, helping other people in the gym, building the gym. So maybe you just need to change your goals, because like I say, when you burn out, it's because you're focusing too much on one thing, and that thing isn't what's supposed to be serving you right now. So it all can be jiu-jitsu related. It doesn't mean you have to stray from jiu-jitsu, but there's always something within the jiu-jitsu under the umbrella that you can be working on, and it's going to change. You have to accept it's going to change, or else you will be overwhelmed or just in a bad position about it, or bad connotation.
Absolutely. And that's the great part about jiu-jitsu, right? It keeps us to be it teaches us to be flexible, right? It teaches us to go with the flow as opposed to fight the current.
Yes,
And
exactly.
a lot of the times when you actually go with the flow, it takes you to places that you never thought you'd go.
Yes.
And
you don't, yes.
So,
and without the resistance, yeah.
Exactly. And so the same thing happened to me. I was a competitor, competing. I had an injury, and then it forced me to redirect to do girls and gis. And so I think that's the biggest lesson. You just nailed it right there, was, just kind of redirecting, refocusing, and not just being so tunnel vision on
It's all
one
jiu-jitsu,
goal.
right? It was never you gave up on jiu-jitsu. It's I found another purpose, another reason within jiu-jitsu. And I think some people need to see, I can still do jiu-jitsu. It's not the same jiu-jitsu, the same goals I had within jiu-jitsu, but it's all still jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure. Did you always know that you wanted to compete? Was that something that was always on the list of, I want to be a
Yeah.
competitor? Or
Yeah, I think when I started at white belt already, like I say, I just came in with the idea like, yeah, I'm gonna wreck these guys, and I was going with some of the skinnier guys too. And the skinny guys that were my size actually that I started with, I would I don't want to say just straight up beat, but I mean I would give them a hard time at least. So in my mind I was like, yeah, like I think I was better at white belts honestly, because I was so crazy. Now I'm more like I think things through and I know techniques, so I actually like, okay, I got to do this. Like, at white belts, you don't care. They're just like, yeah, let's go. So, so that's why I say, like,
nothing to
at white
lose.
belt, I had that, like, yeah, let's go. And I wanted to compete. And then I started competing at white belts. I think my first tournament was maybe 6 months, like just training. So it was just that. And then I did good at the tournament. And then that set the tone for everything else. And I always knew I could do more. And I always enjoyed. And then it gets more serious later on down the road. So that's what I tell my white belt girls now, like, now's the time. You literally have nothing to lose. Like, no one expects anything from you. Now's the time. So that's that. And that was literally my mentality. That's what I wanted really reinforce on it, because I think sometimes we start and we're so scared, but no, I mean, I want them to enjoy the same way I enjoyed when I was ignorant and didn't know anything.
No, I totally agree. I didn't compete until blue belt, and because the first year I had no, competition was not on my radar. I was just like, I just want to have fun. I just want to I was like, I roughhoused with all my guy friends,
Yeah.
before I did jujitsu. So it's like, I just want to fight, and play. So you've had amazing experiences. So jujitsu's opened up a lot of doors for you in your life. At what point did you realize, I want to start taking this serious?
Well, it's funny because when I started competing, like getting more serious into competing, at blue belts and stuff too, especially I always took it serious. Like, even though like I had other priorities going on in life, I had other things, I never thought, late early white belt, blue belt, it would get this far. But in the moment, I always felt like it's where I needed to be. So at white belt, blue belt, when I was competing, blue belt is like when I really started like traveling and being like, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to do this. I just made the notion to do it, and I did it. And I can't tell you how many things, because of jiu-jitsu, I've had these experiences there's been many experiences I have that aren't necessarily jiu-jitsu related, but I have those jiu-jitsu experiences because of jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And how many things I've learned from those experiences that I can take all through life. And it's not even those experiences were the exact jiu-jitsu, but like I say, I wouldn't have had those experiences if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu. So I kind of think of it in levels. Every belt was a higher new level experience. But I always felt like I was like at the top of my experiences. So now at black belt, like whatever I'm feeling right now, I know somewhere in the back of my head, there's always going to be more. I always have this, like, it's never going to, like, there's never an end. For me, like, I don't feel like, okay, this is the peak and it's going to be done. Even though I reach black belt, I don't feel like it's ever really going to end. And there's always going to be another thing to grow. There's going to be another thing to step. Like I say, all the jiu-jitsu goals, even if my competition, it's to a level, there's always going to be something else in jiu-jitsu. Maybe I help these people. Maybe I grow the gym this much. Maybe these, like, there's always going to be something, a new experience. And it's not just, traveling, winning, this, that. There's so many other things that I'm going to get later on in life. And I don't feel like it's going to end. And that's just how I want to perceive it. And that's what I believe is going to come because of that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's first. I can't tell you how much I agree with you on that, like on so many different levels. I think the longer you do it, the more jiu-jitsu just kind of becomes a part of you, whether you're training or on the mats or not, it becomes a part of you and it mimics on the mats and what you learn there and what happens in your life and the lessons you got to learn. It prepares you so much, just the experiences. And there's peripheral too. There's an amazing community. So there are those experiences that come from being in part of jiu-jitsu that are not even jiu-jitsu related, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's all connected. It's all connected. And that's the most beautiful part about it. So when you were coming up as a little girl, there were not a lot of women role models out there in the community. When you thought about getting your black belt, like, did that seem like attainable? Like, because there weren't a lot of women that had done it at that time. And if you did, and what role models do you have that were, around as far as women in that time?
I think I was so fortunate. I think I was so lucky because in the time I was white belt, blue belt, my professor was female. My professor was female, and that's all. Like, I don't want to say that's all I knew, but that's what I saw all the time, and that was so predominant in my life that I was just like, well, like, how can I not get a black belt? Like, so maybe, like I said, again, I have the opposite problem because it was just so apparent for me, like, this is possible. My professor came from Brazil to move to United States, female, and like, to me, I have this thing too, like, it doesn't matter male, female, like, it's just me, and so I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do, and there's always someone who's done it. So I see my life going this way. I see all the things, like I say, at every belt you see, like, oh, I can have this and I can have this. And there were so many things exciting for me that just motivated me that I was like, there's no way I'm not. So I always knew from the beginning it would happen. But I say that I think the biggest influence being my professor was a female at that point. So, and all the things she had done and all the things, like how her life changed. And I thought for sure, like, okay, like, that's normal. Like, that's like the lowest, like, how do I say, the most, like, for sure thing that's going to happen, like, and then everything else is up to me. So I was very fortunate in that aspect.
That's amazing. And that's so important. And I love seeing that there are so many more women at the front of the room, so many more women taking on leadership roles as instructors in the community, because that's it right there. Is if you can see that it's been done, then it's attainable.
Even the lower belt females, how many lower belt females I see in charge? Before, a long time ago, it was only, black belt female, black belt, you have to be black belt. But how many lower belt females? One, you're already female. Two, you're already lower belt, and you're still, like, how much influence these girls have. And I think that's more, how do I say, impactful, is that the lower belts have this opportunity to do it. Because a black belt, of course, you're going to have the opportunity. You're a black belt. But the lower belts, how many I see that make an impact, that are at the tournaments, that are up and coming, those are the ones that are like, this is a movement, because they weren't in the limelight before, and now there's so much limelight for them.
Absolutely. There's so many more opportunities for them too, period.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, everybody does focus on the black belts, but some of the most amazing instructors we've had have been purple belts,
Yeah.
and I think at purple belt you're super excited. You still have that like excitement, right?
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that comes with being new and exciting and this world, you're wide-eyed, right? So you have that aspect to it too. And where there is one woman, there will be many,
Yeah.
and as
For
long as
sure.
that one woman keeps showing up, they will come, so
And when that
awesome.
generation rolls in black belt, then just imagine the next
Oh
generation.
my gosh. Seriously. I've been doing this for 20 years. And so it's really awesome to see a lot of you guys that I've known as little kids, now growing up in it. And I'm just like, holy crap. And there's a whole bunch of them coming behind you,
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
all doing. And
For
you
sure.
nailed it right there, is like, because they saw you do it. They saw you guys come up as in the sport as little kids, and now you're black belts. Now you're competing amongst the best of the best in the sport and traveling all over the world and doing seminars and teaching in front of their classes and stuff. So what are some things that you, in your time in jiu-jitsu, that you're like, what, this is amazing, that these are, these new things and these opportunities or whatnot that have come to women that has really stood out for you, and what changes would you like to see going forward?
Um, for me, I always felt like I had, I don't want to say I always had the same opportunities, but just opportunity to do certain things. Oh, I had like, and it was for myself. It was all like, I don't want to say selfish reasons, but it was like, oh, these things are awesome. And this is how I'm going to go as a person. Oh, I was able to travel. Oh, this tournament worlds is in California. And that was some of my first times getting out of, well, all of my first times getting out of my home state were because of jiu-jitsu to compete. So it was like, wow, like this is, something new. This is something exciting. This is my opportunity to go do this. I have an opportunity to go compete. I have an opportunity to make money in competing. There's been like little steps along the way. It's funny because I always expected them. I always set a level for myself that I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna have these things taken care of. I'm gonna have, at this point, I'm gonna have supplements. I'm gonna have gis. I'm gonna have all the things I want because of the level I put myself at, and I need to be at this level. I don't want to be uh I don't want to I don't want to be like half-assed in the opportunity. This is my opportunity. I can have these things. So why am I not going to take it? How am I not going to find a way to have these things? I think going forward, of course, there's a lot more things. How do I say this? There's a lot more things that for females in particular, as of now, there's only so many in the division that really exemplify the division. So for the girls, the things I would like to see change, the girls in the division, there's only a couple strong competitors in each weight class. But I believe just like the guys, like maybe like, let's just say worlds, like there's like 20 guys. There's 20 guys in the division that's going to be tough. Anyone can win. Imagine the girls level. When the girls, there's 20 tough girls each weight class. And so if the girl that wins that weight class, she's literally like the best, the best, the best. Because maybe there's only one or two of the toughest girls in the world. So once the girls get to the level, have the more opportunity. And that comes with the girls, of course, the generation coming along. So all these girls that are going to be up and coming, we're going to have such a solid division that there's going to be no denying the champion of that division, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to downgrade the girls division, but once the girls have a division, and the girls are just catching up to guys in their division as well, if that makes sense. So the guys have such a loaded division, and the girls still have a smaller division. The girl champion of that division is still as great as the guy champion, but imagine the girl champion facing 20 other girl champions that can be champions as well. And that's going to be the opportunity. That's when I think girls jiu-jitsu is going to be like explode. And that's just a matter of the girls just finally now catching up. And I think by the time the next generation comes around, that's for sure what you're going to see. Every single division stacked. And then for the girl that wins, like I say, for the girl that wins that division, that's going to be the game changer for all the girls. Because then there's no denying this girl is the girl, because how many girls she had to get through to get there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, and also too, going back to like the kids, right? We're going to see a lot of these divisions filling up with these kids that are now entering the blue belt division in the women's that have so many years of training under their belt. You know, it's not like a lot. I think you'll see more of those kids coming up as opposed to the women that start maybe, you know, in their 20s or 30s that are white belts and that are, you know, which is my generation, because there wasn't that many,
no
you know, there was really nothing before, you know. So no, I get what you're saying as well, for sure. I think the level is going to be pushed to a much higher standard,
and that's what I'm excited for. As much equality as the girls strive for, it's going to come when the girls are fighting 5, 6 tough fights of just nonstop. Like this girl, like there's literally like 6-year-old girls I ref sometimes, and I'm just like right now, like, bro, like I'd be afraid. Imagine, like, I'm gonna be afraid to fight this girl when this girl's 20 years old. Like, I will be afraid to fight her at 6. Like I see it now, like the little girls, and I'm like, imagine the division now. Now I see all these little girls, like, you know, 6, 5, 6, 7-year-old girls. Imagine in 20 years, all these girls fighting each other. It's going to be crazy. And that's what, like, I'm literally most excited for. That's like that's the 50 division, 50 girl division I want. And that's not a crazy thought. If a guy's black belt can be 40, 50 guys, why not girls? Like, and that's imagine.
Yeah. I'm surprised by the blue belt divisions, like at some of these, like IBJ, the worlds and stuff. Oh my gosh, like they're deep. Yeah. Like if you would have thought, like if you go back 10 years, you would have never thought there'd be that many women in the women's divisions in some of these like big tournaments, you know? And it's legit. Like you really have to work hard to get in, because to get on that top of the podium, because you have so many fights to get there.
Yeah.
Because there's so many more, you know?
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and close out with one last. I know you have a lot of phenomenal role models that you've come up with, you know, through the years. What has been some of the best like advice that you've gotten that has like really stuck true to you, like that really, you know, that you still use to this day?
I have to file through everything in my
I know
head.
there's
I feel
a lot.
like I have a category. I have, like, in my head, like I file all these things through person, through category, through mood, like, and for situation. But I mean, like, just like the overall theme of it being like, I just think of just like the advice that I carry with me in life. Like, we have our competition training, and we have like so many like high class competitors, and I'm so fortunate in that team. I'm gonna say the biggest thing that I think I take away from my husband kind of had to really drill this into me, because he's black belt, who's been black belt longer than me. So I take a lot of advice from him, because I don't want to say he's more mature in that way, but he's more knowledgeable, just in the sense of I feel like he's an old soul just because he's black belt for so long. But anyway, that our team itself is very small. Our team is just solely in Texas. We're not a huge team. We don't have teams all over the world, but how many champions we have within our team, how many people I get to train with that are pure champions. We don't need a big team. We don't need anything crazy to win. We just show up, we train with ourselves, we go there, we believe, and that's it. We literally, like, I go into training that I can do this. I literally train with the best people in the world. So when I go to compete, there's literally going to be no one that matches the people that I train with. Nachieli, De Jesus, Hibamar, Hishar Noguera, Chagmasa. I mean, those I love my training partners, and I appreciate them so much, because, like I say, nothing against big teams, but some people leave everything. Oh, I need to go to somewhere else because I need something else, because I don't have what I have here at home. But what I've learned is that we take advantage so much of each other. We appreciate so much. We're such close-knit family that how much I've gained from them more than I could than, oh, this big team. And I just want to be able to share that. It's a big thing in my head, but I want to be able to share that with other girls, that you have everything you need right now. You have more than enough. You have more than you think you have. And some people have so many things, like, oh, if I just had this, or if I just had this, but you don't need all those things. Like, because I've learned, I've came up with this smaller team, I've gained so much more, because we have so much. I don't want to say we have less, because I mean, we have more. Like I say, we have more than enough. Maybe we have less than other gyms, or we have less publicity, we have less this, that, whatever. But for me, like, we have more than other teams have because of what we have within ourselves, and that's I want someone to take something from that, you know. Yeah.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. No, 100%, 100%. No, and you, I mean, you're on a phenomenal team, and you guys are only in San Antonio area surrounding, but you guys have, you know, I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, you know. Like,
And like I say, that's the advice. That's the thing I learned, that use what you have, use who you have. Even if your professor's not the champion, they can teach you something. You can gain something from them. Don't feel like you have to go somewhere else or lose something else in order to sell yourself out or sell yourself short to go somewhere else to win. What you have is more than enough wherever you're at.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing all of your, you know, sharing your journey with us and your insight. I think you hit a lot of topics that a lot of people can relate to in this discussion. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the question. Thank you for asking awesome questions too, that I love to tell little stories or get deep in my mind and make myself think myself. So I appreciate it as well.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you guys following, supporting, and supporting these women. That's what we're all about. That's why we're here. Is our platform is to be used to empower and support all women in jiu-jitsu. So, you guys have a good day. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.